Hey friends, have you heard the saying that 80% of the results come from 20% of the action? Well, it's a motto that I live by in my business, and I have been doing this for some time. I honestly think that it is the success tool for any entrepreneur. Once you learn about which 20% of your actions drive the 80% of the outcomes, it's a total game changer. I now only focus on working on that 20% of my business, and then I leave the other 80% of the work to my team. And you know what? I'm making way more income doing it that way. And better yet, I actually have a personal life and can rest more often. So do you want to know more about my secret 80-20 mindset? Okay, I'm ready to tell you all the details. You're listening to the Legal Paige podcast, where we chat about life and business with a legal twist. I'm Paige, attorney and photographer helping online businesses and creatives tackle their business dreams without breaking out in hives. No more legal mumbo jumbo. This podcast features simple, bite-sized advice that'll have you legally legit in no time. Are you ready? Let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start here by saying that I am an economics major. So I studied it in college because I'm a total math nerd, and just FYI, I ended up doing my capstone project on this huge econometrics equation. So just think like huge Excel document where I run lots and lots of math equations through it. I actually almost ended up being a math minor, but I just didn't want to take like one more class. But economics was totally my jam in college. So the reason that I'm saying this is because of the concept 80-20. So the 80-20 rule is also known as what's called the Pareto principle. And it was first used in macroeconomics to describe the distribution of wealth in Italy sometime in the early 20th century. Now, I'm not about to give you guys a huge history lesson in economics, but I want you to know that Pareto, this guy, noticed that 20% of the pea pods in his garden were responsible for 80% of the peas. I know that's like so weird, and we're talking about gardening, but it's totally fine. So Pareto expanded this principle to macroeconomics because he showed that actually 80% of the wealth in Italy was owned by 20% of the population. I kind of find that ironic and a little sad because in today's world, in the United States, we all know that about 99% of the wealth is owned by 1% of the population. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to this 80-20 rule. So what I am chatting about today is what's called the Pareto principle. Now, while I understand that some people don't necessarily agree with this principle, I've tested it multiple times on both of my businesses. And it's just this tried and true motto that I use every day when I wake up and I start working. It always comes out that 20% of my customers generate 80% of my profits. And 20% of my work that I do as Paige of the Legal Paige and Paige of Paige Marie Photography generates 80% of the products that are paying the bills. So let's take a couple examples here so you guys can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Not only was niching down super important to me in photography back in the day, I'd say, 4 to 5 years ago, we just recently had that episode on finding the niche, filling the niche, and killing the niche. But what I also quickly learned was that weddings and senior sessions were driving 80% of the photography income I was making. So all of these other sessions I was doing weren't really generating much profit. So I buckled down and scaled just weddings and senior sessions, which is ultimately what led me to building a 6-figure photography business. Now, in turn, for legal stuff, I quickly realized that since I was the only lawyer in my business, that my team members needed to do all of the back end work, and I needed to do all of the content creation and all of the legal client work. One, because I'm the lawyer, I have the JD, and I'm the only one who can work on client stuff, but also because looking at my books, the client work was what was generating 80% of the Legal Page's income. So I worked solely on that, and I have been scaling that for the past few months. And that is basically the 20% of my business that I actually work on. And the other 80% is left to other people. So enough about me. How can you apply Pareto's principle to gain more time in your own life and in your own business? First things first, it's important to identify your best and highest paying client or clients. Of course, I really don't want you to put all of your eggs in one basket necessarily. Usually there's like 1 to 3 baskets, but I don't want you to like have 10 baskets out there that you're putting all of your eggs into. I really think that there is the power of like just a couple. But the reason is because if you diversify too much, it will lead to burnout. Focus on all of the money makers in your business, and you really need to strengthen all of those client relationships that are generating the 80% of the profit. So I want you to this is the first step. Look at your clientele. What's happening? Where are your clients at? If you're a photographer like I was like, okay, is it wedding clients? Is it maternity clients, family clients, senior session clients, boudoir clients? Like, what is it? What is generating the 80% of the income in my business? And then I want you to foster those client relationships a little bit more. The next thing I want you to focus in on is avoid the temptation to try everything that's new and exciting. Because we live in this internet world where things come out all of the time. Every day there's like a new course to be had. There's something new and shiny that you need to like implement into your business. Some colleague of yours is telling you that you have to be a part of, I don't know, this Facebook group or something like that. And there's nothing really inherently wrong with that, but it really boils down to what your goals are. So if you're trying to grow your current business, then an 80-20 mindset will help you stay focused on that strategic plan that you have. I want you to ensure that you're spending less time chasing these endless new opportunities that are out there, because they are really infinite in this online world that we live in. And if you focus on the 20% of the things that you should be doing as the business owner that drive 80% of the traffic and 80% of the income and 80% of the clientele, you will be more successful. And newsflash, you will make more money in the long run. Now, the third thing is I want you to list things out as business owners. List is like this huge thing that we all do, right? Like, what is your daily to-do list? What is your monthly to-do list? Are we calendaring things and listing things out for like what's coming next in our business? Now, most often than not, if you're listing, we're just going to take, for example, here, 10 different things are on your to-do list. When I say most often than not, I'm pretty much saying almost all of the time. 2 out of 10 items on any general to-do list will turn out to be worth more than the 8 items put together. Okay, I'm going to say that again so you guys can just really grasp that right now while you're listening. If you're driving or you're on a subway or you're getting ready, that's when I listen to podcasts, when I'm getting ready in my bathroom. I want you to just stop right now and think about this. 2 out of the 10 things on your to-do list every day are worth more than the other 8 items put together. So we need to figure out what those 2 items are. And the sad fact is that most people procrastinate on the other 8 things. And the 20% of the things is what are the most valuable. And, you know, some people call that the concept of like the vital few. And it's just rings true to my business and to so many of the businesses that I've mentored. So you don't want to busy yourself with the least important 80% of the things. And those are like what people call the trivial many. So you need to figure out what the vital few are and what the trivial many are as well. And then you separate those out and you make sure you are only working on the vital few. So list things out and remember that just think about like the cha-ching moments, like what 2 are worth more than the 8 items put together. Now, the next thing I want you to do before you begin work every single day, and I do this, I say, Paige, what are you working on today? And I have my, it's usually like 3 to 5 things that I need to do. I don't like to add more items to my plate than necessary because it ends up where you feel like failure and you feel unsuccessful and you feel like you got nothing done if you have like a list of 50 different things on your to-do list. But I can usually tackle about 3 to 5 things every day. So I sit down every morning and I ask myself when I'm working on this task, is this task in the top 20% of my activities, or is it in the 80% of my activities? Now, I am totally fine with delegating, and if you are not a delegator, I would suggest that you really, really focus in on that skill set and you try to bulk that up a little bit more because really success comes from delegating. And so if I'm working on something and I'm asking myself this question and I'm saying, okay, this is actually in the bottom 80% of things, that's only driving 20% of the traffic or income, I need to be working as the owner and founder and lawyer behind the legal page. I need to be working on the 20% of the stuff that's driving 80% of the income. If I'm not, then I will delegate that task to a member of my team. So obviously the rule is resist the temptation to clear up those little small things. It's called working in your business instead of on your business. And we've all heard that before too. And really that's just like relaying in another metaphorical way what the 80-20 rule is. If you're working in your business, that's usually the 80% of the stuff you really shouldn't be focusing on. Working on your business is the 20% that's going to scale and drive more traffic and ultimately be able to bring you in more income. Because we're all in business for profit, right? Like if you're not in business for profit, it's just a hobby anyway. And I've said that before on other previous podcast episodes. So I want you to just choose to start your day by working on high value tasks because you need to develop that habit early on and start working on those high value tasks that have that 80% return because you don't want to be working on these low value tasks that really aren't going to be moving the needle in any way, shape, or form. And really, I just call it like falling into this deep rabbit hole of doing these low value tasks, which really don't generate anything on the back end. Now, the next thing I want you to do is identify your productivity strengths. So if you're really fast at something, like I'm really fast at typing, I'm also really fast at reading contracts. I'm really fast at being able to just interpret laws and then be able to convey that through whatever client issue that I have. So that is what I'm an expert in, which is probably a good thing that I'm a lawyer now that I'm thinking about it. But I'm really fast at that. So you need to identify what you're really fast at, what you're really productive at. What are your strengths when you think about being productive? So I want you to try to make that part of your business, and that's the 20% that you're going to be working on. And the other things that you're not productive at, that you're not an expert at, other people are. And so you want to be sending that 80% out. That's what you outsource, you guys. So all in all, I think I'm just going to sum this up here because I just really wanted to start out your week thinking about the 80-20 rule, how you can implement it to your business. I want you to be doing this every morning when you wake up, every time you open your laptop and you start working on a certain project. Ask yourself, is this task in the top 20% of my activities, or is it in the bottom 80%? So again, this is the Pareto principle, and Pareto approaches this understanding of macroeconomics and really the world of business as a whole now because tons of people are implementing the 80-20 rule. And you just really need to think about which projects and which goals are most important to your business and to your personal life, and which ones align to all of your goals. And once you figure that out, you'll be able to narrow that down to the 20% of the things that are going to ultimately lead you to become more successful. I know this is like strange, but true tale of productivity. And I promise you it works in almost every facet of your life. So please remember the 80-20 rule. We're going to stop here. I'm not going to go on any further, but this is why I truly, truly believe that you can focus your energy towards a very small portion of your business and still be able to have the ability to relax, to play, to have a personal life outside of your business. Hustle doesn't have to happen. And yes, you have to work really, really hard, but I think you only really have to work hard on the 20% of the things in your business that are actually worthwhile. What are those vital few? All right, until next week, Legal Pagers. Okay, let's be honest. Do you want to work less while making more? And are you concerned about how your business can actually stand out in this crowded creative market? Don't you worry, my friend. I am hosting a webinar this week, 2 different times, about how to master confidence and create freedom in your business without second-guessing yourself or burning out. It's available on Tuesday, June 11th at 10 a.m. and Wednesday, June 12th at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. All you need to do is go to thelegalpage.com/savemyseat and get in to make sure that your seat is saved for the free webinar. I will see you there. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Legal Page Podcast. See, I told you being legally legit isn't so scary. Be sure to visit thelegalpage.com for all show notes. And it would be super awesome if you could head over to iTunes and leave a review. Last but not least, don't forget to join my free Facebook group for unlimited legal and biz Q&A. Chat soon, Legal Pagers.